This one's from the Weathermans. Saturday morning, the weather was too bad to go out. I was bored and had nothing to do. And suddenly, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find a young, well-dressed man standing there who said, "Hello, sir. I'm a Jehovah's Witness." So I said, "Come on in and sit down." I offered him a fresh cup of coffee and asked, "What do you want to talk about?" And he said, "What beats the heck out of me, I've never gotten this far before." Rena's watching to see if anybody leaves. She said, "I don't know about this one, eh?" Okay, this one's from the Gawks. Goes like this. Vinny and Sal are out in the woods hunting when suddenly Sal grabs his chest and he falls to the ground. He doesn't seem to be breathing. His eyes are rolled back in his head. And Vinny whips out his cell phone and he calls 911 and he tells the operator, "I think Sal has died. What should I do?" The operator, in a calm, soothing voice says, "Just take it easy and follow my instructions. First, let's make sure he's really passed away." There's silence, and then a gunshot is heard. Vinny's voice comes back on the line. "Okay, now what?" I think that groan was a little bit more than the groans I usually get if I come with my own. So. Okay, let's go ahead and we will get started. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad to be here with y'all. I'm Elizabeth Ann. I also go by EA. I have the privilege of being your executive director. Today we've got a full agenda as always. We're going to hear about our associate of the month. We're going to hear department updates. We're going to hear from the resident council president, Mr. Kramer. Wrap up with questions, and we've got a special note to leave everybody on at the end of today. So to get started, we are recognizing Nicole, who is an LPN health coordinator in the Birches. She is on vacation in Florida today, so she couldn't join us. But I have to say that this month, the Extraordinary Impressions caught cards. I think last month we had a total of 87. This month we probably had around the same number, but by far we had the most from residents. And there were some great stories that y'all shared, so I really thank you for turning those in. There's a committee of 6 of us that meet at the end of or beginning of the month and select a recipient. It was really hard this month because there was so many great stories. So thank you for sharing those. We take a copy of those and they go to the directors so they can incorporate that information into their performance reviews, as well as we hang every card we get in the associate break room and we switch them out every month. So thank you for recognizing the team members. This is a pretty special story I'm going to share with you that Nicole did and why she was selected as the Associate of the Month this month. Over at the Birches, as I mentioned, she's a nurse. And we asked her a little bit to tell us more about this story because we had heard tidbits from Morgan and a couple team members, and so she shared it with us. And she said there's something to be said when looking at one's hands, the love behind them, the lives that they have touched, the work that they have done, and the children that they have helped. And she said that knowing this, when her dad was diagnosed with cancer, she wanted to forever have his hands with hers and her daughters. And so recently we had a couple that lives in the Birches, and they're on different levels in the Birches, and she really bonded with them, and she could tell that they were going through some troubled times, that they were missing each other, and that the outcome doesn't look so great for them, and she wanted to do something really special for them. So she decided that they needed to have their hands together forever. So knowing this would touch them both, and so they could be connected. What she did, with a couple other team members, they made a beautiful day for them both. They set up a table in their room with a tablecloth, flowers, made a special dinner for them. And then she took what you do is you take a you take like a clay mold of the couple's hands, and so that it can be shared, and when it hardens, it'll be in their room, and then it can be later given to their family members. And she said that it was just such a wonderful day. There was a lot of tears that day, but very special. And so when we think about Extraordinary Impressions, I think that story just really embodies what it's all about. So if you see Nicole in the Birches or out and about, please help us congratulate her and thank her for really impacting how people feel and making a difference. Now we gotta switch gears from that. In G&A, the updates that we have for you, we are going to welcome another individual in the LCS Professional Development Program. His name is Bryce Bingham. He's going to be our Associate Administrator, so this is the new Katie, if you will. He's going to join us on July 1st. That week, the previous week, he'll be at LCS in Des Moines receiving some training. A little background on Bryce. He recently graduated from the Eau Claire, so University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Bachelor of Business Administration, Healthcare Administration program. So Katie was from Clemson, my school, and actually Eau Claire is Morgan's school. So we're liking LCS right now, how they're doing this. He also did his practicum. So as a nursing home administrator and through the Eau Claire program, they have to do a practicum as a part of their program. And he was at our community, Windermere in Chicago. So he's been through a similar program, but the professional development program is a little bit more in-depth. So we anticipate when he comes in July, he'll be here for about a year. So thank you in advance, just as y'all did with Katie, welcomed her and gave her opportunities to be a part of listening on committees and to help guide her. We're going to do the same with Bryce. I'm a little nervous for him in the health center because the interdisciplinary team in the health center are all females. So I think they're a little nervous too. Drum roll, we were recognized again as the best senior living community in Plymouth. So yes, that's awesome news. Something we already knew, right? But glad that we're going to be recognized again. Thank you for voting, maybe sending that to family and friends to vote for us. There should be some PR coming out on that soon. Infection control. This is something that was brought to my attention, and I thought it was very appropriate to share. Hadn't really thought about it. I know everybody likes to put some candies out on their ledge outside their door, which we all enjoy. But when we think about it, if they're not individually wrapped, so if you have a bowl of M&Ms, you've got a lot of people that are dipping in and grabbing candy. And so just from an infection control standpoint, maybe the best way to go about it is to put individually wrapped candies out there so we don't spread any germs. So, in the month of June, this month, not next week, but the following week, Morgan and I will be attending an LCS business unit meeting for our division in Milwaukee. So we'll be gone the whole week. Look forward to bringing back some best practices and some information from that meeting. We have one meeting a year together, and it rotates different locations based on communities. So we're going to visit Newcastle Place and Mequon while we're there. Associate Engagement Survey. We conducted a survey, it was back in October, and if you recall last month we had quite a packed agenda, and so we had to put this conversation off a little bit. But even though we participated in October, we've been doing a lot of things since June, so don't worry about that. But the Associate Engagement Survey, similar to how we conduct a resident satisfaction survey every other year, so the Associate Engagement Survey is in the off year of the Resident Satisfaction Survey. So we do it every 2 years. We use a company by the name of Holleran. They're a national leader in engagement satisfaction research for residents, associates, and other stakeholders of senior living and retirement communities. And they actually have, they use the proprietary benchmarks that consist of over 207,000 surveys, all within a 24-month period, so that we can gain a clear vision of the strengths and opportunities within our organization. So when we conducted this survey back in October, I'm going to share with you some of the stats on it, and benchmarking against the Holleran. So we had participation, Trillium Woods had 73%, and then they break it down in terms of the engagement level of your staff. They break it into 3 categories. So highly engaged staff. These team members are committed and dedicated to the organization. They're very engaged. They're probably committed. They're probably participating on committees. Willing to stay after. Overall, they're those rock stars, probably recipients of Extraordinary Impressions Associate of the Month. So you can see here the national average 46% with Holleran, and we're at 51.5%. So that's a great story. Engaged staff. So these are going to be those staff members that they show up, they do their job, they complete their responsibilities, and they're satisfactory being here. Here we're above, so 31.5 is the average, and we're at 40%. And the combination, this number is, I love this number because 91.5% of our team members are either highly engaged or engaged team members. Disengaged staff, you can see a huge difference here. So 22.5%, and we're at 8.5%. Of course, you want that number to be 0, but it's just not reality. So disengaged staff are those staff members that are probably undermining maybe the directors or even their fellow coworkers. This may not be the place for them, or it's going to take a lot of work to probably bring them up to an engaged team member. So overall, we're very happy with the results. I relate it to happy residents. Our satisfaction score for you as residents is high, and so to come here and work and to be around people like yourself that are happy, it translates to our associates too. So we all play a part in that. So we're excited about the results. You can see overall the benchmark is 80, and we're above that benchmark. To give you an idea of the questions that were asked, this is just a snapshot. The survey was a couple pages long, but they ask about, I trust the leadership of Trillium Woods. I feel I'm part of a team that is producing meaningful results for the organization. I feel I personally make a difference. I know what is expected of me. My director, supervisor offers positive recognition for a job well done. So that's just a snapshot of those questions. And then what they do is they take it, they break it down, and they say, which questions specifically did you rate above the benchmark? And then which questions were below? So that gives you an idea of what you're doing really well, maybe some areas of opportunity. So here we are significantly above the benchmark in 5 different areas. Trillium Woods cares for its associates. At work, I have opportunity to do what I do best every day. I trust the leadership of Trillium Woods. I feel I'm a part of a team that is producing meaningful results to the organization. And this last year, I have had opportunities at work to learn and grow. So we're really proud of those numbers, or those questions that we scored particularly well on. And I think you hear from, or the team members hear from directors and supervisors a lot about connecting what they do to how it impacts your life and how it's a positive difference. And so I wasn't too surprised by those numbers or questions, but it just re-emphasizes that the message that we're giving to our associate, they hear that and they feel that. The areas that were below, we actually didn't have any that were below, significantly below the benchmark. Doesn't mean that we didn't gain insight on this though, and I'll share a few of those things with you. Our approach to the survey and the results that we got, so we got them back, it was just before the end of the year. The first of the year, Pam Spies, our HR director, and myself met with each director and supervisor to review their results. There's a lot of information detailed about their departments, and then of course the team members were able to write in feedback that they had. So we met with each of those departments, reviewed the results, talked about maybe some reasons why the staff feel that way, and came up with some action plans. We then took that information and presented it at a February all-associate meeting. So we gave the general feedback for the community and how we did on that survey. We solicited additional feedback during that meeting. The next step in the month of, it was end of February, in the month of March, we attended, and when I say we, either Pam or myself attended the department meeting. So each department has a monthly meeting, and we'll use plant for example. So I went to the plant meeting where we discussed the department-specific scores with those individuals, and we talked about, share with us, we need a little bit more information here. And one of the questions, and I'll give you an example, in the plant department was, I have the tools that I need to do my job successfully. And so we didn't really know, what's behind that because there wasn't anything written. And so one of the team members brought up, during the winter season, it would be helpful to have a couple extra snow blowers, this type of snow blower versus the one we have. We also learned that they wanted training on some of the appliances. So that information we could then set an action plan for. Since then, we're putting in our budget for the snow blowers, and then we've gotten some additional training on the appliances. So that's the approach we took with the information we learned, and there were tidbits and a lot of good things and insights that we got from that. At Trillium Woods, we're always trying to continuously improve and want this to be a great environment for our team members. So overall for the survey, I think the directors and supervisors felt really good about it, and we gained some insight to make it even a better place for them to work. At True and Resident Council Forum, when I shared this with them, it's 2 months ago now, I got the question, how can the residents help when it comes to associate engagement and satisfaction, which I can't thank you enough for asking that question. You are always looking for ways to make this a great place for the associates too. And I would say to that, I know that there's a couple initiatives that the council's working on right now. They're exploring a scholarship program. There are other things that during the holiday season, the gifts that y'all give to, the monetary gifts that y'all generously donate to the staff members, those things, I can't thank you enough for them, but I just want to, on the day-to-day basis, I'm going to use an example just last night, and this happens every day though. Bob Schoenberger said, "EA, how you doing? How was your vacation 2 weeks ago? How's your family doing? What do you have coming up?" I mean, you care about the associates, and we experience and feel that every day, and I think that's what makes this such a wonderful place to work. So I thank you for that and encourage you to keep those conversations going, that investment and consideration, compassion for the staff, it goes a long way. So I think these are great results, and you're a part of that too, so thank you very much. Are there any questions on the results? I know that was a lot of information, but any comments? Yes, sir, and Rita's coming around with a mic, Mr. Mitchell.
I'm always shy about these things. One of my learnings about engagement survey, that too, really, the first is that that's the best tool you have. That's the best way, single best way you know what's actually going on around you. But the comment, the suggestion would be is, when you actually buy the snow blowers, tell them, remember what you said in the survey, that you guys wanted snow blowers. Here are the snow blowers. And if you do that, your response rate will go from 73 to in the 90s.
Good point. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think if there are snowmobiles, they probably
I almost said that. Very good. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, our next topic, OSHA Safety and Health Consultation. There are two different divisions within the state for OSHA. The folks that come out and they cite you, they inspect, and then the folks that want to help you to do better. And so about, I guess it was 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, Leading Age Minnesota that we're a part of, sent an email and said that, this division of OSHA does free consultations. There's no penalties for what they find. It's a good learning experience. Good way to identify areas for improvement. So we engaged with that department. We had two folks that came out in April, beginning of April. Katie Patzelt led this process. Free service. What they did was they were here for pretty much the whole day. They reviewed our incident logs, so when we do have accidents, our OSHA log for that. They checked to make sure we had safety data sheets on all of our chemicals. They reviewed a lot of our policies and procedures related to work practices, how we investigate accidents, associate trainings. They did a campus tour to look at the equipment that the staff are using. A lot of great things that they said about the community and our work practices. They did identify some areas for us to correct, no penalties. The last action plan ends this month. So to give you an idea of what some of those things were, and just to clarify, no immediate concerns that we had to correct that day. It was just areas for opportunity and some things to think about and take action on. I had never heard this. Here's an example. In our kitchen, we have garbage disposals that are over 6 inches in width. And if you have those type of garbage, when I say garbage disposals, the sink, where everything, the drain. Okay. If they're over a certain number of inches, you actually have to have a guard inside there. And so we got some guards fabricated, didn't know that. We had, when they did their tour, there was a fire extinguisher that was blocked in the kitchen. We just need to rearrange some things. Personal protective equipment in our health center kitchen, making sure we had the proper equipment because they use lime away on the grill top. And then some additional eye wash stations in the health center kitchen. And then one of the things that we didn't have that the team members are working on are doing assessments for our job descriptions or for each job classification on what personal protective equipment is needed. So not that we don't have it, we just haven't done the actual assessments. So it was things like that. Some were policy related and some were equipment related that we need to make some changes to. We're almost done taking care of all those items. It was a great learning experience, things I never knew about. Great for Katie, and we're just continuing to do better. So, any questions on that visit? Yes, Pat?
Were the elevators working when they were here?
Yes, ma'am, the elevators were working when they were here. Okay, anything else on ocean? Okay, next up, Krista Ray. This past year, Trillium Woods partnered with Krista Ray to offer students a learning and work experience. You may recall I talked about Krista Ray, which is a Jesuit high school, private Roman Catholic high school that's located in the Phillips neighborhood of Minneapolis. There are over 36 high schools across the country that follow the Krista Ray work-study model for education for students for low-income families. And so we participated and had 4 individuals. These are the folks. We had NK, Janet, Mauricio, and Kwame. You can see what grade level they're in. NK is graduating this year, Janet a junior, Mauricio a sophomore, and Kwame is a freshman. And next week is actually their last week with us, and you've probably seen them at the front desk some. So just want to let you know it's their last week, so if you want to wish them well and say goodbye to them, I know that they're excited for summer. Oh, let me tell you a little bit what they did. Forgot that part. They were very helpful when it came to HR and some of the administrative functions. They worked with typically Rita for 2 to 3 days a week. They worked in HR for usually 1 to 2 days a week, and then in accounting, usually helped with the invoicing and things like that with Kim. So we are appreciative of their contributions this past year. Community Life Services, new sacred music service. This sounds wonderful. It starts on Sunday, June 9th. That's this Sunday, and then it will also be on the 23rd at 2 p.m. right here in the auditorium. We have the Plymouth Councilwoman Elise McGregor. She's coming next Tuesday, June 11th at 10:30 a.m. in the auditorium. I did provide her, if you recall last month we had the mayor here, and so there was a list of hot topics, the questions that were asked that we had that was important to you, so I did provide her that list in advance. I sit on the Plymouth Civic League board with her for the city of Plymouth, so it was funny, one of the residents, in fact, I think it was Ann Jasper said, I was going to that board meeting that day and said, you know, it'd be great to have Elise here at the community, and so I happened to see her that next hour. So she's a great, wonderful individual. I look forward to her coming to the community and listening to what's important to you. She's very interested in hearing about those topics.
Does she
Yes,
have
ma'am.
anything to do with the boardwalk that we all went to that council meeting?
Yes, you can provide that feedback to her. That I did include that as a hot topic and gave her a little insight on what the residents have done. And Ms. Wald has really helped to coordinate and taken the lead on coordinating that visit. I've been around for a bit. Also in Community Life Services, we've got an active adventure. It's exciting when these get started again at Bryant Lake Park, Thursday, June 20th, 11:45. You can sign up at the front desk. We've got an overnight trip to Duluth to see the tall ships and more. We do need at least 12 people to go on that. The sign-up deadline is June 16th.
When's the event?
That's a good question. The event. I'll get that date. I'm sure before the end of, probably before I get to the next slide, we may have it. Environmental Services window washing is now complete. However, if you do see that maybe wasn't the greatest job or we need to go back and correct something, please let Nikenya know. She's kind of got a list going for them to come back out if there's anything that was missed or needs to be done better. Food and beverage. Today is the last day to submit for the main dining room names. Matt said that quite a few good ones have come in, and then quite a few other ones have come in. Anticipation for the fish fry, which is next week. The dining room and the pub will be closed for dinner that day. Okay, and excuse me. The dining room and pub are going to be closed for dinner Wednesday in preparation for the event which takes place on Thursday. Rita told me that Chef mentioned he's already got food and stuff coming in for it, and I said, food? It's next Thursday. And she said, well, the paper products. I said, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. From our health and wellness Navigator, some reminders on the electric scooters. And I think it's every couple months we just like to remind you about some of the use and safety features or safety policies that we have in place. So with the elevators, please look both ways when entering and exiting the elevators. And when walking near the elevators, please allow extra room for others to safely exit. So, make sure you're back a couple feet from those elevators so when it opens and that person starts to come out, that there's plenty of room. Also ask, carts are not allowed to enter an elevator if there are already 2 people on that elevator, just because it's a tight space, so we ask that you wait for the next elevator. In terms of speed, no more than 3 to 5 miles per hour, and please drive in the center of the hallway to avoid hitting those that may be exiting their apartment doors or coming around corners. Yield to walkers. And then storage. All carts must be stored either in your residence or inside of your storage locker. So no cart should be stored in common areas unless they're parked, like we've got them outside this room now, or in alcoves or hallways around the community. And if you need a copy of that cart policy, Carrie Brastad has that, so feel free to ask her for a copy if maybe you've misplaced yours or you want to refer to it. We also appreciate that the parking outside of the auditorium, so we're not trying to maneuver those through a lot of people in confined spaces. Yes, ma'am.
So, because mine and my original is down in my stall.
Do we have to have it out of garage? Okay. So, what about the storage area? There's no room in my storage area. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for garage storage, we do allow the cart to be in the garage if it's intermittent, is that the word I'm looking for? So if you're going in the car somewhere and then coming back and you leave it there temporarily, you should probably just go with that word, that's okay, but permanent storage, we don't allow that in the garage. So.
Mine is I have in that corner stall, and it's right in the corner where nobody has to
Right.
get in or out.
It's like other things, if you allow cart storage in the garage, then how come you can't store a piece of furniture in the garage, and then it becomes fire hazard and clutter, and so we just try, I know it's hard sometimes. The tall ships is August 12th and 13th, so thank you very much, Rita. I think that was slide number 4, but that's okay. Health and Wellness Navigator continued. We have a Vision Focus Healthy Life Fair. So the first part of that is going to be on June 27th from 1 to 3. The first hour is going to be education about learning the different eye conditions and what causes vision license loss. I'm sorry. Whew. All right, learn how you can stay independent in your home with visual impairment. You can come and experience what it's like to see if you have macular degeneration or glaucoma. We are opening it up to our team members, our staff to come to learn about this because we think that would also be beneficial to them. You can learn what you can do to help someone with visual impairment, and there'll be a lot of resources available to you. The last part of it, so the last hour, we've got Eric Nelson from the Low Vision Store. He's going to be here with some of the with some resources that could assist you if you have vision loss. Rehab Care is going to be available to talk about what therapy services they could provide to help you remain independent in your home and compensate for some vision loss. And then Health at Home will also be there to share how they can help with vision loss. So really excited about this. I know that it affects many of you, and so hope that the resources and information will be helpful. Plant operations, the water and boiler assessment. If you recall at the last Friday with Fetner, I mentioned that we are pursuing getting some quotes on an engineer firm to come out and do an assessment on our water and boiler system, just given the number of problems we've had with it. The recent problem I do want to share with you, so we've got the pipes that form a T in a spot, and one of them sprung a leak, which isn't really uncommon with the type, large system that we have and how many of those systems, the pipes connect and everything. They had to cut the T and then re-glue it. I'm using glue because that was a very technical term, and that had to sit for 7 hours. So that problem isn't really related to this assessment. This assessment is more for where we had the hot water coming out of the cold faucet, or when you wanted cold water, you get hot water. So haven't actually heard complaints about that in the last 30 days. If you've been experiencing that, please let me know afterwards. We think we found the fix about a month ago, but we still want to pursue this assessment. We have gotten 2 bids. Right now we're just working through which one we think would be the best to come on site and do that. The elevators. I know that this is frustrating. I know that it impacts, many of you have health conditions where this really puts a lot of strain on you. And I am so sorry that we have had as many issues as we have. I recognize that Corey does too, that it's an issue that we need to dig into more, and we need to find a solution so that we don't continue to have, especially elevator 4, the main elevator where people, if it goes down, have to walk all the way to elevator 3 and then back. And I know that can be a taxing effort for many of you. We are really trying to identify the root cause. There's a couple different areas that we're exploring. The first one, when we originally installed that elevator, that one was put off releasing, being able to open for a couple weeks because there was water in the pit. So that's one thing that we're looking at. I have heard from our current company, so TSIN, that services them, they don't feel that that has impacted why we're having these problems at all. However, it's still something that's on our list we want to look at further. I've asked the question, is it the type of elevators that we've selected? You know, are they prone to needing more maintenance or failure? Is our preventive maintenance that we have contracted with Tyson, have they not been adequately keeping up on the preventive maintenance that they should be doing? And then are the technicians skilled in doing their job? Are they doing the software updates that they should be doing for these elevators? Right now, it looks like probably the last 2. We have been in contact with CPS, so LCS, the CPS division, helps us with vendor management, following up when we've got complaints like this, and we're inquiring, is this vendor doing what they should be doing? Corey has talked to y'all many times about TSIN and the technician turnover, and have they been coming out and taking care of the problem? Are we doing enough preventive work? So we've met with the regional folks with TSIN. They have improved their service. Our contract is up with them at the end of the year, and so we are really paying close attention to this. Their software updates are going to be out next week, making some software updates that we do think will help with that, but we don't think it's the end-all be-all. So we're exploring this very seriously. The other provider that CPS has a contract with is Otis. You know, it sounds really easy to cancel a contract, and do I have justification to probably cancel this contract? Maybe, but to switch elevator contractors is a lot different than switching a landscaping contractor or switching some other ones. It's quite a bit of work goes into that in terms of them taking over a contract. So it's something that we need to look at thoroughly and make a good decision, but I do want you to know that it is something that is prioritized right now, and I hear you, and I apologize that y'all have had to deal with those frustrations and inconvenience and impact you the way it has. Another subject, parking. Outdoor parking, we're going to get the lots sweeped and the lots restriped. And then the garage sweeping like we did last year. We are close to getting a date. We work with Brightview on that. They have a company that they recommend. And so we've got, the quote's been signed, now it's just scheduling. We're looking at end of June, early July, but we're trying to push that forward as soon as we can. There'll be more information. If you recall last year, we've got to move, some cars have to move out one day and some have to move out another, so it's a whole production. The turf burn from salt, you can see they have gone through, they have put dirt down, they have put the seeds down. I think it's already off to a better start than where we were at last year. So looking forward to the grass popping up in those areas. Any questions on plans that I've covered? Yes, Miss Heidi, and Rita's coming behind you with the microphone.
I have a question about the
plants, the decorative plants in back and in the front. Now, I noticed just recently they've been changed from what they were originally. And
Yes, ma'am. So Brittany is our on-site, they call her quality manager with Brightview. She was on vacation, I think it was last week, when they installed the monument bed and the flowers out here and did the pots. She had selected certain flowers for them to plant, and while she was on vacation, they went and pulled the wrong ones. And so, yes, I know. So we were very concerned about the way it looked and wasn't up to our standards. Well, it turns out her team members, unfortunately, didn't do it correctly. So she was out this week. She was actually the gal that was out on the back, replanting, doing the front monument. They got the flagpole done yesterday, I think, and then they're gonna redo the monument up on that corner. So that was that.
You might check the watering system. 57th Avenue does not need to be watered, just the grass along it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I may have to ask you about that again. Anything else planned? Okay, sales and marketing. For the month of May, we ended at 165 units closed out of from a budget of 171, so a little bit behind. It is looking like we'll end the month of June, maybe 2 to 3 behind budget. We've got tons of closings planned for this month. We had 2 closings in May, and we had 2 sales that came in right at the end. A total of 256 residents versus a budget of 253. At the time of this report, let's see, so actually I updated this morning, we had 1 sale that came through yesterday. We've got 2 additional sales that we anticipate before the end of next week, so off to a great start for June. So we've got 165 closed, and then we've got 8 sales, which is now 9. Apologize, I didn't add that number together. So 174 units sold. So it's going to be a big month in June. I think we've got 6 of those closings will occur this month. So lots of new folks moving in and wonderful people. I just had 2 home visits this week, and I just can't. I can't believe there's so many wonderful people out there, but they just find their way to Trillium Woods. It's pretty awesome. Sales and marketing. So recently, resident panel prospect luncheon. That was in May. We had 83 guests. We had 23 appointments so far have been booked from that event. Thank you to the panelists. Maybe if you could raise your hand or if you want to stand up. We had Bonnie Patrick. We had Anita Weingarten and her daughter, Carmen. We had the DeLines. We had Malmore. We had Bob Schoenberger. It was pretty cool. It was set up almost like a living room format right here where I'm standing, and y'all did phenomenal. Can't thank you enough for participating in that. We have many ambassadors that sat at the tables, the Gawks, Dennis Kudelka, the Copelands, the Jetsons, Frosts, Ladners, the Andreessens, the Kelbys, and the Poeys. So thank you for participating. I sat at a table and for the guests to be able to ask questions to you and to that panel. Far better job than what I can share with them because they believe you tenfold more than they believe me. So I thank you for your efforts. I also thank all residents for welcoming our guests. The sales team members always comment on how receptive you all are and welcoming. You'll stop and greet the visitors. So thank you for your support. Got one of our funnest events coming up next week, 3rd annual Walleye Fish Fry. That's next Thursday, 4 to 6 on the patio. It's for all of you. We'll have some guests that are interested in Trillium Woods that'll join us. It's always great food, some great music, so look forward to that event. In the month of July, we are going to have a Friends and Family Summer Referral Cookout, so more information to come on that. That is planned for July 18th. This is pretty cool here. I remember at the very beginning of the year, when we talked about our goal for resident referrals being at 230, seemed like a lot, because we had a total of 160 that we accomplished in 2018, but we are almost halfway there. So 112. Thank you for your support. In particular, this past month, Nancy Kleeman, Rusty Huff, the Gawks, Malmore, Barbara Ross, Lauren Lure, and Rich and Berta Baker provided names and folks to the sales team that they could contact, or maybe even organizations like church groups. So appreciate everyone's support. Okay, that concludes the report that I have. Any questions on anything? Yes, Mr. Lee, and Rita's coming behind you.
Will the date of the fish fry be impacted by the mother duck out there?
Mother duck, good question. You know, everybody was pretty excited. Was it yesterday or the day before, Rita, when we thought I think we were in leadership team, and someone came in to tell us that, or we were talking about how we thought they had hatched. And what was it? It turned out something else
It
had
was
hatched.
the swans.
Oh, okay. So we'll make sure that we're careful around that. The excitement, may contribute to them hatching sooner than All righty, I am going to turn it over to Morgan now.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right, I've got a good Birches update for you today. First, we'll just touch on our occupancy in the health center. We had another strong month. Came in a little bit under again with our Medicare and our HMO population, those people here for therapy, not for lack of having people to come, just with the way we're turning over rooms and with the needs of our life care residents. But had another really strong month. One thing that's been positive is that we've really been marketing our memory care lately. And now we have hospitals from what feels like all over the entire metro area, realizing that we have a really fabulous memory care therapy area. And we're getting a lot of referrals from people to come over for our memory care and starting to see people that are coming back if they've had another fall, come back. So it's been really fun. I know we've had a lot of Trillium Woods residents volunteering over in the memory care lately who have gotten to interact with a lot of those memory care, transitional care residents. It's a very rare product. There's only 2 other communities that I know of on this whole side of the metro that have a memory care that does therapy. So we've seen those numbers really rising, and so far for June, we've had basically a full memory care at this point. So we've got exciting things happening as it relates to the occupancy. For the number of Trillium Woods residents in the Birches currently, it's a very standard number. So we have 12 residents who are Trillium Woods life care residents utilizing the Birches today, either in a long-term or a short-term capacity. Any questions for us on occupancy? All right, my exciting update. Lo and behold, yes, last week on Tuesday, I was sitting in a meeting over in the admin conference room, and I got a phone call saying the health department was here for our annual survey. I thought they were kidding when they said it. We knew that our window opened at the beginning of May, but we really truly did not anticipate that they would come until probably late June, early July timeframe based off of their historical data. So not only did they show up last Tuesday, when we didn't expect them, but Tina Hack, our director of nursing, was up in Canada on a fishing trip, so she didn't even know they were here until after they were gone. So we had our annual health department visit. I'm happy to report that it went really, really well. They were here for only 3 days, which is something I had not experienced before. When we've talked about the annual health department visits, we always say that their standard is 4 days. They may do 5 days in a bigger building so that they can cover all of the topics that they need to cover. For those of you who are newer or may not know about our annual health department survey, every single year the Department of Health in every state does an audit and a survey on every single skilled nursing community. They show up and it's a surprise. We have a 7-month window that they can come in. They send usually 3 to 5, maybe a couple more for a bigger building, surveyors to the community who are going to review all of our documentation, interview all of our residents. They interviewed many family members and visitors. They observe care, they watched activities, they sit in at meal times and watch the mealtime occur. They watch medication passes. They're kind of everywhere. They came and looked at the kitchens right away. So they get a really good picture of what is happening over in the community. And at the end of those very full 3 days for us, they were only able to find 3 care areas that they had some suggestions for improvement that we're still waiting for our final report, but 3 areas that they were looking at the end of that. The first area had to do with storage of medications and people who can self-administer medications. We had 3 individuals on Tuesday when they came in who, all of those individuals willingly told the surveyors, well, I didn't tell them that I had my spouse bring this in, I just wanted some Tums. And I said, hey, can you go to the store and get me some Tums? And I shoved them in my bedside table, and well, I didn't need to tell the nurse that, they're just Tums. Unfortunately, when it comes to the skilled nursing world and the regulations, we've got to have an order for everything. I know we've talked about that before at roundtables, so Tums, Pepto-Bismol, even creams that you would get at a pharmacy, all have to have an order. So we had 3 people who had medications in their room, all of those types of things that we had not known about. So one of the things that we'll be doing for that is really making sure when residents come to the Birches, they understand those regulations we have to follow, and that we always have to have an order, we've got to know it's there. And some residents may be able to keep things unlocked in their room, like Tums, so you can take them when you want them. We just have some documentation that we have to follow once we know that they're there. So that was one area they found. No care concern with that, no issues with those residents having them. All of those residents still have those things sitting out on their bedside table. We just finished the documentation that needed to happen for those. The second care area that they found was another documentation piece related to bed holds. This is one that we talked about a little bit last year as well, because they looked at a different area of this regulation last year, in making sure that every time we have a resident that goes to the hospital overnight, even a Trillium Woods resident, which is where they caught us this time, we're always going to save that room for you when you go to the hospital. But we need to document that you've agreed that you want to save that room in our medical record. So we've got to just do some extra education on that with our team to make sure, even though you're a Trillium Woods resident and we all know that that room is yours and we're going to save it for you, we still got to document that in the medical record. And then the third area was related to fall event documentation. The surveyors were looking for some additional documentation that kind of, I'm not even sure how to describe it. When it comes to a fall, we have an event report that we fill out. We always have a conversation as a team about what happened and how can we prevent this from happening in the future.